Every injury hacker must watch this. Hey, I'm Sarah from mostmotion, your chief injury hacker, and I have another episode of how to hack injuries for you today. We're going to do things a little bit differently. I have found some interview questions online, and I thought it'd be fun to answer those for you today. So we're going to talk about the topic of mental and physical health and why it's so important for you as sports and fitness coaches and how it underpins everything that we do with hacking injuries. So why is this topic so important? Because emotions and our ability to move, those two things drive every single decision your participants make about their training, your coaching, and they're also the two highest risk factors for injury as well. So if you want to be able to help your participants avoid injury, then you really need to be paying attention to mental health and your participants' ability to move their joints around. So what is my purpose in doing this training about mental and physical health for sports and fitness coaches? Well, it is to remove the fear and mystery surrounding the subjects of mental health and injury and show you how easy it is for you to help and make a huge impact for your people as well. So are there any special disclaimers or warnings you have found for sports and fitness coaches and I need to mention? Well, the first thing is we are not talking about getting involved with diagnosed medical conditions. Okay, we're not talking about helping people with clinical depression or anything else like that. We are talking about general ways of helping. And you must always refer those cases out to other professionals. So if they have a diagnosed injury or something like that, you must always be ready to prepare yourself and them for referring out. Okay, this is literally just applying your own coaching sense and skills to everything you hear in this training. Okay, so how important is mental and physical health information you're about to share for sports and fitness coaches' success? Well, it is critical to your success because, like I said, it's underpinning everything that you're trying to achieve as a coach. So if you're, I don't know, a triathlon coach, a swimming coach, a basketball coach, a personal trainer, anything that you're trying to do in the physical world is underpinned by emotions and by people's ability to move their joints around. Because let's face it, if they can't move their joints around, they can't do what it is that you want them to be able to do in terms of their training. So it's absolutely critical that we focus on this area. Okay, so what is my background with mental and physical health? Well, I never really fit in anywhere growing up. So sport was my happy place. It was like the one place I could just be me. And I do any sport and every sport. I was never exceptional at any of it. It was just the fact that I could do it. Okay, so the only place I drew the line was netball and hockey. Sorry, not interested in them. But because sport was such a big part of my life growing up, I started coaching at age 13, which meant that I could do more sport on lunchtimes and after school and just be involved in the stuff that I loved, which is great. So I went to university aged 18 and went to do a teaching degree in sports and maths. So in my lectures, in my physical lectures, I had a gymnastics lecture, great. And I jumped off a bench and slightly dislocated my kneecap. And the injuries really for me started there. I was physically assaulted age 22, 23. I had back pain a couple of years later and was then manipulated badly, you know, where they click your spine. That happened to me. It was too aggressive and it strained the ligaments in my spine. So that was about a year later. And it left me with nagging little injuries everywhere. So ankle, knee, hip, shoulder, you name it, I had it. And I was too sensitive for normal treatment as well. My body wouldn't cope with that input into my body. So I spent the next 20 years or so not being able to push my body to the maximum with training and just having to miss out on aspects of my training because of my injuries. And it's only in recent years that I've recognized the impact of all of this on my mental health. So what results have you got with mental and physical health? Well, for myself, I had to find a different way to improve my own injury issues without relying on standard treatments because I couldn't have anybody impacting my body. I felt I had to be in control of what was happening to me. And just sometimes the thought of somebody being too rough or too aggressive, or even if they were moving too fast around me while I was laying on the table, it made me tense up. So I really couldn't handle the impact of treatment. So it made me look elsewhere for other ways of improving my own injury issues. And I found it in movement. And that feeling of being able to do something to help myself was just amazing, because, when you're in pain and when you feel sensitive about stuff, then you want to get better. And most people do. But if they can't access the standard ways of doing stuff, the ability just to be able to do stuff themselves or be able to help is so powerful. And I have seen it in every single patient that I've ever treated for physical pain or injury, and that I've given movements to help themselves. And this is without exception. And we're talking hundreds of people here. So it's not something I was ever taught in formal education. It's just what I have discovered over a long period of time with a lot of experimentation. So are you self-taught with mental and physical health, or did you have a formal education in it? Well, like I said, I went to university to do a PE teaching degree, which they failed me on in 1998. I then switched to a sports science degree and graduated in 2000 and went into personal training. I have been self-employed personal trainer since 2001. I did a master's degree in sports injury in 2004, and pretty much every industry qualification that you can think of. So corrective exercise, functional movement, all this kind of stuff. And I have been a soft tissue therapist as well since 2011. So that's pretty much my formal education. How much on-the-job training did you get with mental and physical health? Okay, so loads, like literally 30 years worth of observing people, how they behave and how they react when they're in pain or uncomfortable, or even when they're concentrating. I mean, have you ever noticed that people hold their breath when they're concentrating on something? It's simple observation, but that's what happens. And the difference between somebody who's been in pain for a long time and when it goes away is huge. It's like a relief. It's like a weight has been lifted off their shoulders. Even if the pain has been really low level, it just wears people down. I know this from my own experience of having pain and having suffered a traumatic event as well. And noticing the small things has always been my deal. Like even when I was personal training, when I was working with people in one area of the gym, I noticed that other people were listening to what I was saying and assessing whether they thought what I was saying was useful or not, and then testing it out themselves afterwards. So just little things like that, they start to accumulate, and then you can use those observations to lead what you learn and what you teach from there on. Okay, so how long did it take you to get you where you are today with your mental and physical health knowledge and experience? Well, like I said, it's been a 30-year journey so far, and it really does feel like I went the long way round because I feel like I learned one element at a time. But, sometimes that's the way we have to do things. To be able to simplify things, you have to know things from a lot of different angles and spend a lot of time in those different angles to know what's working and what isn't. So what is your day-to-day life or reality like when it comes to mental and physical health? Well, I was recently recognized the symptoms of PTSD, which I am still working through. And my mental health drives my ability to exercise. So if my mental health is good, one day my anxiety levels are low, I can increase the intensity of my training. But if I'm feeling particularly stressed, then even the thought of exercise can be too much. So I'm kind of having good days and bad days, but I do spend most of my working day quite sedentary, which makes my physical symptoms worse and also impacts my anxiety levels too. So I have noticed that when I move my body in different ways and open the joints out, then it impacts my mental health and my physical symptoms at the same time. So it's a daily event, just like everyone else. What made you decide you wanted to concentrate on mental and physical health? Well, my experience and countless patients I've seen in pain showed me that it's not possible really to have good physical health if you're struggling with something mentally or emotionally. We hold those emotions in our bodies, and that always comes out in our physical what's happening to us, whether we get ill or injured or whatever it is. That emotion always drives those things. So it's kind of the mental health aspect to me has become, it's almost it's hit me with a bit of a sledgehammer over the last couple of years, but there you go. So what inspired you? Basically the coronavirus pandemic has brought out the issue of mental health to the top of people's awareness. And it is panicking some coaches. I used to hate the idea of talking about mental health. It's like, why would I want to open that can of worms? Why would I want to dig into somebody's innermost secrets? If they don't want to tell me, I don't want to know. So it's kind of, I want to be able to help people who feel like that about mental health to move forwards with that. And really, if we're going to help to build the healthier nation that everyone keeps talking about, then we need to give coaches more tools to be able to make a bigger impact on mental and physical health. And that includes injuries. And like I said, I found the idea of talking about mental health so difficult for such a long time that I just want to help other coaches and other participants who feel like I do, that don't want to say anything to anybody. Let's face it, it took me nearly 20 years to tell my parents that I was physically assaulted. So if I'm not going to tell my parents, I'm not going to tell a fitness coach my deepest, darkest secrets. And I want to be able to break down those barriers and give people the tools to be able to help with these situations, even if they can't talk about it. So these, I want to be able to give the tools to make it easier on everyone. So what's the number one thing you would say to a sports or fitness coach about getting started with mental and physical health to help them succeed quickly? Well, simply stick to what you do. Don't worry about you can't do, because there's other people for that. So if you are sticking to your coaching guidelines and you're sticking within your coaching remit, then do what you can within that remit. If you're not a specialist coach, don't worry about it. There's people who are, and you can refer those people out. So it's really about making use of who you are and what you do very well, but also collaborating with people who have got different skill sets to you that can complement what you do, and working together for the benefit of the client, really. So what would you say to a sports and fitness coach who is nervous about getting started with mental and physical health? What would you say to put their mind at ease? Well, while we might be talking about mental health, you really don't have to mention it to your participants at all. Just use your existing coaching skills to be able to achieve more with them. There's loads and loads of ways that you can use movement and use what you already do to improve mental health. And we're not just talking about the action of exercising hard to create the endorphins and those natural exercise highs. There's loads more stuff that you can do to help really on a small level. So what are the top 3 reasons a sports or fitness coach should get started with using injury prevention to improve mental and physical health? Well, the one thing that we all want to do is get that satisfaction of seeing participants improve in all areas of their lives. We want them to get the results in the sports and fitness, and we want them to get the better results than they ever have had before. Let's face it, a lot of the times we're teaching adults particularly, they will have tried to get fitness results before and probably tried a few times. So they might have succeeded once or twice, but they'll have dropped off in the middle, and they will have hit a certain point and they'll be trying to improve on their past achievements. But what we want as coaches is to be able to help them do better. So that's one of the reasons as well. And the third thing really is consistency, to help them build the lifestyle that they want, and be able to do that without the strain of injury as well. So what stops most sports or fitness coaches from getting started, or at least causes them to procrastinate? Well, it's the idea of getting involved in areas that they think they know nothing about. So particularly mental health problems and injuries. But like I said, when you can collaborate with other people and you can create really good networks with people that you feel happy to refer out to, then everything feels, it just raises that level of comfort, and you can help knowing that you have that system in place as a backup. So what's the first step every sports and fitness coach should take to get started? Well, really is just assume everyone is struggling with some kind of anxiety or old injury issue. Don't wait for them to tell you about it, because right now everybody is struggling, whether it's the thought of losing the job, or worrying about money, or the grief of losing somebody, or having strain in their relationships. Anxieties of all those kinds can impact everyone, and most people have been injured at some point. Again, if you're teaching adults or older children, they have probably had an injury of some kind. So just assume everybody is struggling and put practices in place to help with those issues, whether you can see them or not. What's the biggest pitfall sports and fitness coaches need to avoid when getting started with mental and physical health? Well, the biggest pitfall really is to think of them as separate issues or topics, because you can't separate them. Mental and physical, they are part of the same thing. They are two sides of the same coin. They are interconnected, and you cannot separate them. So, sitting somebody down and talking to people about their mental health might not be in your skill set. You might not feel comfortable with that. Your people might not feel comfortable with that. So even if you do, they might not. So when we integrate them, when we use them together, that's pretty much how we can help people the most. What's a secret you could share about mental and physical health that would put sports or fitness coaches leaps and bounds ahead of the competition? Well, all mental and physical stress, okay, it doesn't matter whether your stress is emotional or physical, like movement restrictions or anything like that. All of it is stress to the body, and all of it has physical signs that are easy to spot. Okay, that's a secret I will share with you. Do you have any mental and physical health case studies you could share? Yeah. So my dad, I go see him every week, and he was walking up the stairs one day, and my dad is like the most sprightly 70-year-old you can imagine. But about 5-6 years ago, he was walking up the stairs like a 90-year-old. And I was like, "Hey, Dad, what's wrong?" He went, "Well, I've got this knee pain, and it's just really bothering me going up the stairs. So I have to adapt how I go up the stairs." I was like, "Okay, so how long have you had the pain?" He said, 10 years. No way. Okay, so over the last 10 years, I have been learning about injuries, how to treat them, all the rest of it. He never said anything because he just didn't feel like his knee pain was bad enough to warrant going to see anybody. But once I observed it, then it was out in the open. We could do something about it, and within a few days, it had totally gone. So it was literally that observation that triggered the dealing with it, and now he goes up and down the stairs. He's back to running and walking miles and all that kind of stuff. So that's one. Jane is another. She came to me for treatment, and she'd been told she had this itis or syndrome. I can't even remember what it was now. But she came with this feeling of being really helpless because she had been around everybody before she came to see me. And I did my assessment with her, and I just kind of went, "Do you know, your hip just feels a bit stuck on this side. We just need to unstick it." And she was it gave her so much hope back that somebody could actually do something to help her, that initial euphoria of, wow, somebody can help, then just made her really angry, because she was like, well, why did nobody else explain it to me like this? Because she had been told she had this issue. It sounded really medical. It made her feel like she was going to be stuck with this problem forever. But when I explained it to her using simple language, it was like, literally, your hip doesn't move. We need to get it moving. That was it. And that was all that was wrong with her. We did get it moving, and her pain did go away. But it just made her really angry, because she made the language that people had been using prior to that made her feel like there was nothing that anybody could do. In fact, she had been told there was nothing that could be done. And really, that kind of language doesn't mean that nobody can do anything to help. It means that the person that she was asking for help can't do anything else. And they don't know where else to refer her on. So they say, well, there's nothing we can do. But it's interpreted by people, by patients, as there's nothing anybody can do. And that's not necessarily the case. So language is really, really powerful when it comes to mental health and what people believe, because what people believe drives what they do in your sessions, about motivation that they have, about their expectations of what they can achieve, and what they're prepared to put their bodies through if they've had previous pain. All right, so why are these case studies significant? Well, it's giving people a sense of control back, really, and being able to do something to help themselves. Eliminating that worry and the fear of pain is absolutely life-changing. I cannot underestimate how powerful this is for people who have been told time and time again, there's nothing we can do, or they've been to so many different people to try and solve this problem, but nobody can help them. And just being able to give them something useful to do is huge, and can often be the trigger in them helping to sort themselves out. So what can sports and fitness coaches learn from these and apply to their own situation? Well, you don't really need to know how to fix injuries to be able to do it. Okay, it's the small things that make big differences, and it's simple things like observation and language that we can really do as sports and fitness coaches. We can make huge changes to our people's lives just by making tiny changes to how we do stuff. All right. So what's the number one thing every sports and fitness coach should do tomorrow to kickstart their mental and physical health efforts? Okay, based on the language idea, we can remove the words should, right, and correct from your coaching vocabulary, even if it's for 5 minutes in one session to start with, if you find that really hard, because right and correct and should are common. They're so common we don't even know we're saying them anymore, but it teaches people that how they move their bodies is bad or wrong, and increases the mental pressure to get it right. So when you're being told that you're doing something wrong over and over and over and over again, you start to believe that you will never get it right, or you start to create a very negative feeling around that particular movement. Whereas if we eliminate the idea of being bad or wrong, and we just we stop telling people that they have to do it right or correct, then we can eliminate that negativity and we can help them to move forwards. So any final thoughts, next steps, or final words of caution for sports and fitness coaches? Really know your limits. Embrace your skills as a coach and find useful referrals for your people. Okay, and I think this really is one of the biggest things for most participants. It's, a lot of sports and fitness coaches will say things like, oh, you need to go to the doctor or something like that. Well, that might not be very helpful. If you can find somebody who's very good at dealing with the issues that you see on a frequent basis, then referring them to somebody that's going to be able to help is much, much more effective than referring them to somebody who might be able to help. Okay, so don't put the pressure on them to sort themselves out. Really step up and help them find the right people to help with the situation that you've seen. Okay, so not just go and see the doctor or go and see your physio. Find somebody that's local to them or that you know very well, maybe online or something like that. Make those connections and really step up and do that work for your clients. You'll find that is super effective. So where can sports and fitness coaches find out more about you and how you help with their mental and physical health efforts? Well, you can find out more about my approach to injury hacking, injury prevention, mental and physical health at mostmotion.com. You'll find books, information about training courses, and so much more stuff. So go and visit mostmotion.com if you want to find out more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Oh, and by the way, if you really enjoyed this video and this style of interview, then just put it in the comments below and let me know, and I will do more or not. Thanks for watching. See ya.